Hello, and welcome to an intro to Anthro with two humans. I'm human number one, John McCray.
And I'm human number two, John Lehr.
And this is the podcast where we reassess what it means to be human. And the title of today's episode is, Let's Get Trashed, Talking Dirty About Garbage. So, I recommend people like turn down the lights, light a candle, pour a glass of wine.
Yep. This is where we're going to get a little bit. This is our rated R podcast. This is where we really get dirty.
John, it's been a while since you and I have been trashed together.
Yes. It's been almost 3 decades. It's coming up on 3 decades. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I can't believe it, or wouldn't have believed it at the time.
No, God, I wouldn't believe we'd be alive.
What do you, if you decided to get trashed all of a sudden, what do you think you would go for? What would you?
Straight to heroin. Yeah,
really?
I would. Yeah, I wouldn't mess around.
Really?
First, I'd have a cigarette. I'd have a cigarette first and foremost, and a cold beer. No, you know what? Now that I think about it, you're right. I'd have a cigarette, a cold beer, and then just snort me some heroin. That's
right back in.
Why waste time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to tell Mary, like, on my deathbed, I wanted a Guinness. I wanted to drink a Guinness because I just wanted to go out.
God, we drank many a Guinness together.
Yeah. Nothing better than Guinness at a pub, but
what's great about a Guinness is when they call last call, you just order 3 pints of Guinness and you're fine.
Yeah.
Because then, last call. Okay, I'm just finishing up my drinks, and I don't care if they get warm because they just taste good.
Right.
Hey, wait a minute. Now that I think about it, maybe we should, what do you think? We quit once. We could do it again.
They've come out with a non-alcoholic Guinness.
Yeah, how is it?
It's not bad.
You said it was pretty good.
It's pretty good, yeah. So I don't know.
But how do you know? Here's my question to you. How do you know it's pretty good? You haven't had a real Guinness in, 25 years?
Yeah.
So how do you know it's good?
Yeah,
I think,
it could be.
You're not the person we should be relying on.
Yeah, we need
somebody who can still drink a regular Guinness and get a side-by-side test.
Right. We need a control group. We need a control group, too.
In general, we need
blind taste test to see which one is better. But it's really thrown me off now because I'm like, now I don't know what I think I'm going to go out completely sober and crying like I came in.
Yeah. At this point, yeah. I mean, a lot of things would have to go wrong for me to have a drink. Because I've got a family now, so I got to wait for all of them to die.
Yeah,
I can't.
Yeah, I have to admit, when things really suck, it's like it doesn't even. I just white knuckle it, man. I'm like, bring it on, bring it on.
Just drink lots of caffeine and masturbate. That's basically all I have left.
Yeah,
that's it. And this podcast.
Yeah, this podcast is my therapy now.
Yeah, when you're feeling like it, when you're feeling down and out, you just call me and we'll record a podcast.
We'll just talk it out and share it. So, as a matter of fact, this episode, Trash and Garbage, you came up with. You were the one that sent this one to me.
God, I love that you give me credit for that kind of stuff. I just sent you an article.
I know. It took me a while to download that thing. I don't know where you found it. Dark web or something. But I think you sent me a text that said what about trash?
Yeah.
It was like, I think you were in Austria or Norway or something. You were in Europe.
Yes, I was in Europe, and I was in Austria, and there's no trash in Austria. None. There's no trash. There's no graffiti. There's no litter. I saw one homeless guy. And, I gotta say, it kind of made me feel a little disconcerted. I really was kind of jonesing for a little bit of urine.
Really?
A little, but I needed a cigarette butt it was just too much. A little too
perfect.
Clean.
Do you think it was too perfect or too
It felt
clean?
like I was in a theme park a little bit. But I love the people. The people are amazing. Yeah. And the food, okay. But too clean. Too
Yeah.
clean.
See, I was wondering, like, what the hell's going on over there that you would just send me out an open-ended question? What about trash? Because you give me what about trash? Open-ended.
Yeah, and my phone wasn't set to international, so it cost me like $50 to send you that text.
Well, I immediately got on it. I was like, trash.
I want you to know that's coming out of the profits.
Oh,
text.
God.
Yeah, that's coming.
It's a drop in the bucket. A drop in the bucket.
Don't hold your breath.
So since you sent me that, though, I've come across a couple articles that in The Guardian that got me really thinking about trash. One was by Karen McVeigh on May 24th of this year, titled "Plastic Waste Puts Millions of World's Poorest at Higher Risk from Floods." And what she was talking about was in developing countries. It's probably the same here. But we have so many like plastic bags and plastic bottles that whenever there's a flood, it immediately clogs up all the drainage.
Oh, okay. I see. Yes.
Yeah. And she said that, what happens is within the first hour of a flood, all of this plastic blocking the drainages can cause the water to rise 1 meter in 1 hour. Yeah.
Wow.
The other article was by Isabel Choat on May 31st in The Guardian, and it was called "Stop Dumping Your Cast-Offs on Us. Ghanaian Clothes Traders Tell EU." And this article was really interesting because there's an entire market worldwide for secondhand clothes. Like when people donate secondhand clothes, then those clothes are bundled up and they're shipped off to other countries. And then there's a secondary market for those cast-off clothes or those secondhand clothes.
Amazing.
And in Accra, Ghana, they get up to 100 tons of used clothing every day.
What?
So, yeah.
And they don't have enough people to wear them.
Right. There's a secondhand clothing market in Accra called the Kantamanto Market. And 30,000 people work there, and they handle 15 million garments per week.
What? But where do they go? Like, what happens to them?
Yeah, well, they try to resell it. Like, if you're a trader in secondhand clothing, you will buy a bundle of clothing. They say usually it's about 150 pounds. And then you'll go through and you'll sort through that bundle of used clothing from Europe.
I see. And find
then
the
you'll
good
take
stuff.
Right. Exactly.
But see, now my kids do not buy new clothes, and all of their friends don't buy new clothes. They all buy used clothing from, they go out and find good stuff. Yeah, and they wear that. Yeah. Like my kids, and even shoes. My kids, like the only new clothes I buy my kids are underwear and socks.
Yeah,
isn't that cool?
Yeah, I think it's how you grew up, because when I was growing up, it was just my mom taking care of me.
Yeah.
And we were very poor. And my mom would always, all the stuff she bought for me. I mean, one time a year we would go to JCPenney's to get something.
Yeah.
But it was usually stuff from Goodwill. And sometimes you get good stuff. But, all of my my jackets and everything. I remember I had one jacket that was from the Polled Herefords Association of America. And it said like Gilbert on it, And so,
and now that's cool. And now that's cool. My kids pay money for that. And even this, my daughter and her friends who are super, they're all, LA girl, and they will go diving into these used clothing stores, Salvation Army or whatever, pick out the good stuff. And then they'll have a pop-up and they'll put it on Instagram. Holy and kids crap. Will come and buy the clothes that they found from them. It's sort of like what's happening in Ghana.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll make good money off this.
Wow. Yeah, I used to, but when I finally got to where I could kind of support myself, I was like, I just want new clothes. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's again how you
told me when I got married, you say get married in a new pair of shoes and a new pair of underwear. That was your. Do you remember saying that to me?
Yeah.
You were like, get married in a new pair of shoes. Yeah, new pair of shoes and new pair of underwear. I took that advice. I did it.
Right. That's very nice. Very few things. I can't give much advice about anything, but.
No, come on. You've given me some new advice. You've given me some terrible advice, but you've also given me some good advice.
Hopefully when we do the ledger at the end,
Yeah,
as I'm going
we're
over
still here. We're still here.
On my deathbed, as I'm drinking my my Guinness, looking through your ledger, I'll see if I owe you anything. But it's the same thing. What they say is only 40% of the clothes that they receive at that market, or 40% of the clothes can't be used.
Yeah.
So they don't know. Think about, hundreds of tons each week.
What do you do with them?
They tried to throw them into city dumps, and the city dumps immediately filled up.
Right.
And so now people they just dump them everywhere, and it's become an environmental problem because they have a photo that goes with that article, and there's a stack of clothing out on the beach that's probably 20 feet high. It's just huge.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And it's just getting bigger. It's like it's like a sand dune, only it's all wet clothing because it's out on the beach. It rains, and it's clogging. Like fish, they say like sea turtles can't get into the beach anymore because of all the wet clothing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, fishermen
there's only one solution. One solution.
What's that?
Shoot it all into the sun. Put it on a rocket, and we shoot it all into the sun.
Dry it out. That's the only dryer we got to get it out there.
But we got to jettison all that crap into space. Now that we've ruined the Earth, now we need to ruin the entire universe because we're these horrible creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, I like your idea, though. You put it in like a space shuttle, shoot it towards the sun, and then when you get close, you open the bay, and you try to dry it out. You sun dry it out there.
You have it all on clotheslines.
When it gets back, smells good, perfectly fine.
Fresh.
You could,
yeah.
So, but yeah, it just looks awful. I can't imagine, like, if you felt wet clothing slowly closing around you. It just seems awful.
Just wet clothing. Wearing wet clothing is horrid.
Yeah.
Imagine living with it.
So anyway, today I thought we could talk a little more about garbage, and specifically about humans' history of garbage and trash, and how we made it, and what we'd like to do with it.
I think trash says a lot about culture, a lot about, don't archaeologists, study garbage to kind of, get a sense of what the culture was like based on garbage.
Right. And basically, we're looking at the material culture that was left behind, usually by people who didn't leave written records. So a lot of archaeologists say that archaeology is the science of studying garbage. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Interesting.
So, yeah. And just before we start, just so give a little background, you know that I sort of have a history with garbage. Like I
sure do.
I worked as a janitor for a time.
Yes, you did.
And I also drove a parking lot sweeper.
Yes, you did at Metcalf South Shopping Center, in Overland Park, Kansas. And I worked at the Swensons there, and we both worked on Sunday mornings early. Yeah. And you gave me a ride on that parking lot
pick
sweeper.
You up on my parking lot sweeper, so you wouldn't have to. You wouldn't have to walk in.
And then we'd both go into Swenson's and drink coffee, lots and lots of coffee.
I just remember you on the front of the sweeper with your long hair blowing back as I took you in.
Free as enjoying life. And that's not all of your garbage connection. You produced a video.
Oh, yeah, I did. I was going to mention that. I did.
Oh, good.
Also,
I'm sorry.
I also produced Crunch Smash Trash, which
my kids loved.
Yeah. It was a children's film produced in the late 90s, won the Parents' Choice Award, and was featured on, I think, Good Morning America. But it was all about recycling. I got to spend a lot of time in recycling centers. And
it's so cool because it was just footage of big machines dealing with trash.
Yeah.
And it was so awesome. My kids just loved it.
With classical music. I put classical music on it so that the parents, the parents wouldn't get tired of it. But you could play it over and over again. And
genius.
I would say that's like my Citizen Kane.
Yes. Yes.
I think after that, I had nothing to say, nothing left to say cinematically. That was it.
You did. What else is there to say?
Yeah.
After Rosebud, you just fade to black.
Yeah. Crunch, smash, trash. That's all I have to say about humanity.
But that video is really good. We should get it digitized.
Yeah. I would have to see it. Yeah. I'll look into to talk to the producer or something of it. So,
yeah.
But I did get to speak. I got a little familiarity with like the recycling industry.
Yes, you did. Mm-hmm.
A couple other things just real quick about tidbits from my own personal experience with garbage. The one thing that parking lot sweepers can't pick up, dirty diapers.
Who is throwing a dirty diaper in a parking lot? God damn it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to curse, but Jesus.
People would take so much care to like wrap it up.
Yeah, they wrap it real tight. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just drop it out there for some schlub to go pick it up. Mm-hmm. I was that schlub, you know.
Oh, God. And having to reach down and grab that thing, it's like a big wet softball filled with poo.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. No, it's awful. I'm like, if you take all of that care to wrap it up, and it would be impenetrable.
Well, they wrap it up so that it won't smell when it's still in the car. Mm-hmm. I know that because I wrapped them tight too.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them to smell.
Just throw it in the trash can. Just throw it in the trash can.
You keep it in the car, and then when you get to the trash can, you toss it in. But I guess people just were like, screw it.
The other tidbit, the most disgusting bathrooms in an office building on the executive level.
Interesting. Yeah. They don't care about it. Because you have to be a sociopath to be an executive.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
The O level. You know, a bunch of A personalities up there. It's like, I'm not cleaning up after myself. Nobody's.
Is that the office building that you used to roller skate around at night?
Yeah. When I got out late at night, I worked a late shift, and I was the only person there, and everyone had left. It was really smooth parking lot, so I could just kind of skate around.
But I remember us skating inside of an office building once. Is that just something I made up in my head?
I don't know. I think you came to work with me one time.
Yeah. I feel like we roller skated around inside an office building once.
Possibly. I mean, I always had the skates with me. Maybe you. Yeah.
Maybe I brought them. I got them on. I'd have to jam my feet into your skates, though. I mean,
I don't know.
Lears, we're not much, but we got big slabs of meat.
So anyway, I just want people to know that, look, we're not judging anybody here when we talk about garbage. I wouldn't say I am familiar with recycling from my past, but I wouldn't say that I'm a hardcore environmentalist. No, at all.
No, I do pretty well. In my house, we do pretty well. We've even just recently started, what do you call it? With the food scraps, composting.
Composting? Oh, really?
We had a composter at my old house, but at my new house we haven't, and now we're fully underway. And we recycle. We do a good job. Like I'll even rip the top of the pizza box, so the one without any food on it, I'll put that in the recycling, and I'll put the other one in the. And you have a composter. I bought it for you.
I know it's out there. It's so dry here. It's hard to compost. Like it dries out pretty quickly.
Pee on it. Just pee on it.
Really? All right.
Yeah. Just pee on it.
I'll remember that next time I'm out there. So anyway, I guess let's just start at the beginning with prehistoric humans.
Yes.
And two anthropologists and archaeologists, William Rathje and Colin Murphy, who wrote the book Rubbish, say that there is a garbage angle to every human activity. So creation of garbage, they go on to say that creation of garbage is an unequivocal sign of human presence.
Yes, we consume and we poop.
Right.
Right. We're just these machines with a hole on one end and a hole on the other end, and we just walk through time and space, sucking it in and putting it out.
My friend, you have a way of simplifying it to where we can all get down to the bare essentials. They also say that our garbage seems to have more staying power than we do.
Yeah.
And Edward Hume, who wrote a book called Garbology, talks about that while our bodies will only take up 1 one grave plot when we die.
Mm.
The trash we produced for our one body will probably take up 1,100 grave plots.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ugh. We're horrible. Yeah. We're vermin.
Yeah. He goes on to say that we, on average, humans create 7.1 pounds of trash each day. You know, sometimes more, sometimes less.
More today, I'll tell you. Yeah. What happened with me this morning.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Should we go into that? Should we?
No. I don't think people want to hear about it, but I'm just saying some days more, for sure.
Yeah. And by the time we die, all of it, I mean, if you calculate that up on an average lifespan, all of us will have made 102 tons of trash by the time we die.
Wow.
So,
wow.
But
it seems a little low, actually, in a weird way.
Really?
Doesn't it? A little low. I guess it's all of us. It's billions upon billions. Yeah, never mind. I don't know.
But,
it just seems...
what they talk about is, I mean, we're not that's just what we as individuals create.
Okay.
We're not talking about like construction waste or anything.
Oh, like okay. Just each person.
Yeah.
So, okay. That makes sense now.
On our way out, each of us will have produced approximately 102 tons of trash.
And that's just us. That's not all of us together doing all the other horrid stuff.
Right. But it's always been that way, because even in prehistoric times, you know, if you made a stone tool, you had those flakes that would fall off the stone tool. That was trash. You know,
Yeah, but come on.
There were fewer of us.
Yeah.
Fewer of us.
But yeah, you're right. There's still stuff.
Yeah. Pottery sherds, you know, you make a pot, you break the pot, you throw that in. That's like some trash. You all your animal bones from what you ate.
Mm-hmm.
You
your
know,
poop, your poop and pee, your urine and excrement.
Right. And exactly. You got to do something with that. So,
but back then it all got turned back into the earth, didn't it? Back then it was all organic-y stuff.
Well, I think what's the difference is that there weren't that many of us, and we were nomads. You know, we were hunters and gatherers, so you would just make a mess and then you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
like a fish in the ocean, you just keep moving.
Right.
Like a shark.
Yeah, and it never really, garbage didn't really become a problem until we invented agriculture and stopped moving, and then suddenly you couldn't get away from it. You know,
the Samaritans, those goddamn Samaritans, they changed everything.
Litter bugs.
Yeah.
So I know you like camping.
I do.
Obviously. You do love camping.
I love it, but not hardcore. You know, I'm park and camp.
Right.
But I do love it. I love being in a tent under a tree. It's really nice.
Yeah. But I'm always, and Mary loves camping as well. I'm not so much into camp. I like to have a shower at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I'm always so surprised that we will go out in the middle of New Mexico to get away from it all.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we get ready to leave after a few days, all of the garbage we have to pack out of there.
Yeah.
You know,
it's amazing, isn't it? You really get a sense of, and camping, you create more garbage because you don't have all of the, you have to bring, just all the paper and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. But I'm surprised. It's like, this is getting away from it all. Just all of this crap I have to like pack out of there. You know,
it's true.
And you mentioned earlier, like archaeologists love finding a prehistoric garbage pile because they're called middens. MIDDEN is what they refer to them as. Midden.
Why that name?
I think that's a like a Norse word or something for like a trash heap.
What, the archaeologists go to Norse? I mean, Jesus.
I don't know. Maybe the first
they should
one
stay within the Romantic languages.
Okay, let's just call it
from
a trash
now on.
heap.
I mean, yeah. Come on. They go to Latin for everything else, but then for this one term, they go to the Norse.
A midden. But they love it. You get very excited when you find a midden because most of what we know about prehistoric cultures are coming from analyzing all of the trash, all of the junk that they left.
Yeah.
And And like you mentioned before, like looking at poop, if you find like some old dried out poop, which is called a coprolite.
A coprolite?
Yeah.
Okay.
Coprolite. A coprolite is dried poop.
Okay. I don't. All right.
Some people also call it paleo feces.
Oh boy. I like coprolite better.
Coprolite, you don't really know what it is. You know what I mean?
Paleo feces sounds like the toilet in a lot of restaurants here in LA.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you could find that and you can go in and you could look at the poop and you can analyze the poop and you can tell what people were eating at the time.
Right.
You know, sometimes
their health,
how much poop was there.
Yeah. How long they stayed there. Yeah. I can imagine you could learn a lot.
Yeah. And actually, if you go to most archaeological sites of city, I know out here in the Southwest, even like pueblos, like prehistoric pueblos, when they excavate them, or when they did excavate them back in the 30s, you would find that people would just dump trash right off of the wall and fill up, you know, and then when that trash piled up, you would just build a new wall there. And then you would just keep doing that. So it like Alfred Kidder, who's like a big name in Southwestern archaeology, he excavated the Pecos Pueblo here, and he has like a cross section that he's drawn of where like these like rubbish field is. Wow. And then it's just another wall, and then another rubbish field, then another wall, and another rubbish field.
And you just haul it out there and toss it over the wall.
Right. Because you go, you know, it's kind of like what we do now. It's just the easiest thing to do. You don't want to walk too far with your garbage. You just go to the edge of the wall and
and toss it. Over. It's like you're in Metcalf South Shopping Center. You just throw it up, throw the diaper right out the window.
Yeah. I don't want to walk all the way over to the trash can with that. There'll be a guy that comes along in a sweeper.
Somebody will deal with it.
The sweeper can obviously pick it up, you know.
That sweeper couldn't do anything. Did that sweeper do anything?
Just moved it around, I think.
Yeah.
I think it just moved it around.
It looked like a, what's the thing that does the ice, the Zamboni? It looked like a miniature Zamboni, that thing.
Yeah.
You look proud on it, though. You driving it, you look proud.
Hey, man. It's my livelihood. It's my tool.
It's your business.
The tool of my trade.
Yep. Yep.
You know, the bad thing was if I would never, it's like hope springs eternal. I would always run over the new diapers I found out there, hoping that machine would suddenly.
That makes total sense to me. Give it a shot. You never know. You never know. Anything other than having to get out and pick that thing up.
And usually by the time I ran over it about 4 or 5 times, it was already ripped open and shredded. So it even made it worse. It made it worse. It made it worse than it was.
I can so relate to that. That's exactly what I would do.
So anyway, like we had mentioned before, when people settle down into cities, that's when we started to have garbage problems, really. Ugh. And because you had a lot of people together, a lot of people making trash. And we didn't, at that point, you know, if you're talking about ancient Troy or something, people didn't go out of their way to get rid of their trash. They would just throw it out in front of their house. Yeah. So still
same concept. Somebody will pick it up.
Right. And it's estimated that in ancient Troy, the elevation of the city was supposed to have increased 4 to 6 feet every 100 years.
Whoa. From trash. Yeah. So
from just trash.
Build houses on top of trash heaps.
Right.
Jesus.
So that's why, you know, when you see in the news where they're building a new building in London or something, and then, 15 feet below the city, we found these Roman ruins or something. It's because people were just throwing trash out in the street, and the elevation of the city just kept getting higher.
The entire city.
Yeah.
How many people? What was the population of Troy? Do you think at its height? Like, how big are we talking?
A couple thousand, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I think Rome was supposed to be 1.25 million.
Jesus.
At its height.
That's legit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a modern city.
Yeah. They think also that in Manhattan, for example, they think modern Manhattan is 6 to 15 feet higher than it was when Peter Minuit came.
Yeah.
First discovered it in the 1600s.
I believe it. I believe it. I mean, you just think about the sheer, like I've said this before, you think just about fingernail clippings. Let's just take fingernail clippings for a second.
Okay.
Imagine the amount of fingernail clippings manufactured by all those people on Manhattan every day.
What do you think? Do you think they were actually trimming, or do you think they were chewing their fingernails?
In Manhattan, they're all chewing them. Believe me.
Do you think they do they eat them, or do they spit them out?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, just that little waste is probably truckloads. Every day.
Modern Manhattan.
That's what I'm saying. Modern Manhattan.
Yeah.
Ooh.
God.
I know.
Giving me the...
Well, that's what we're doing here today. We're getting dirty.
Okay. In the 5th century BCE in Athens, they actually were the first people to come up with a municipal dump because they realized that there was so much trash in Athens it was affecting people's health.
Those Greeks, they did everything right.
Yeah.
They figured everything out.
So you would have to take your trash 1 mile outside of the city gates, apparently.
Uh-huh.
And just so you know, it was also a place for people to leave unwanted babies.
Jesus.
Yeah.
God.
Ancient Rome, same thing. They had organized people that would come and sweep up all the trash from the city streets, and then they just try to get rid of it. There was really no place to take it. So you just sweep it up from one street, go over to the next street, and dump it over there.
Then that guy had to sweep it up. It's like you, like driving your thing. That you should have just taken those diapers and thrown it in another mall parking lot for the next parking sweeper to deal with it.
Don't think I didn't think about it. Throw it on top of somebody in the back of somebody's truck. Let them take it away.
Yeah.
In the 1300s, the piles of garbage outside the city gates of Paris got so bad that they thought it was a defensive problem and that you couldn't see any enemies coming towards you because of all the trash heaps.
Jesus.
Outside. Yeah. And here in America, though, they say that we had when the colonists first came over, they had so much room. And there were so few of them that they would just throw their junk out just anywhere. They didn't care.
They were like the people with the diapers. You just toss it out your window whenever.
Right. And I think we still have some of it because, you go out to the country, you'll be out in the middle of nowhere and you'll find like a couch.
Yes.
Out there.
Tires. So many tires.
Yeah.
What's the deal with all the tires?
They say that tires are like... In a landfill, a tire will always rise to the surface.
Why?
I did read that. Because it's when you first put it in, it gets compressed. And then over time, it becomes uncompressed. And you just can't stop it. It's working its way to the surface. It
grows its way out. Because
Yeah.
when I'm driving on long trips, I'm always amazed at the number of tires. And in Mexico, my daughter and I went for a drive in Mexico. We were in the Baja.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how many tires were on the side of the highway.
Really?
Yeah.
Just left there. You mean just left or like
left there? Yeah, and there'd be some little piles of them and then just...
Yeah.
It was so bizarre.
I think you can't... There's nothing you can do with them. I mean, if you burn them, it makes it worse.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to burn them. I've seen that.
Yeah.
You don't want to burn a tire. There's nothing... there was a famous... actor who built a house out of used tires.
Yeah.
And apparently it was really great insulation and but then you're living in a house with used tire. I don't know.
Yeah. They'll do that up near Taos here in New Mexico, that they have earthships. Their houses built out of recycled materials, and they'll pound dirt into the tires. And it makes like a big brick, you know what I mean? Then you'll construct your wall out of the tire.
And it's supposed to be the insulation's supposed to be really, really good.
Yeah. The only thing I heard people sometimes or like critics have come out saying like, well, then you're getting all the chemicals and stuff from the tires are there in your house, and that might be something to worry about.
And then that goes down into the, well, that makes sense. So there's nothing anybody can do ever.
I don't know.
We're all screwed with tires. Well, again, shoot them right into the sun.
Yeah.
Just shoot them into the sun.
I hope you're writing your congressman, man. Just get NASA. I'm sure. You know what? No, call them. Call them because I'm sure they'll want to hear you.
Well, this is what Bezos doesn't realize that he's doing. He's just becoming a garbage man. He's doing all this stuff, all this fancy stuff, taking rich millionaires out into space. Yeah. But in the end, he's just going to be our garbage man. Okay, Bezos. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, here's my used diaper. Send it into the sun. Thank you.
The other thing people would do, because you have two different types of waste at that time. You had dry waste, for example, which was all your dry paper products. Yeah. And you also had wet waste, which was your garbage.
Oh, boy.
From food. And so people would just throw the food out into the streets.
Right.
And then let the pigs eat it.
That's just disgusting. And pigs will eat anything.
Right.
They will eat anything.
That was the strategy was just let pigs eat it. So
but then the pigs poop. And then what do you do with that?
Right. Exactly. But they say that, 75 pigs could dispose of a ton of garbage in one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the methane that
not so critical out, now. Huh?
No, wait a minute. Hold on to a second. But the pigs then it's methane then becomes a problem. But then we can take that methane and we can use that to motor around on. So maybe why aren't we doing more? Why aren't there pigs everywhere?
Yeah. Well, people, your landfills also produce methane. When you see them like burning off the methane in the...
Yes. Yeah, that's so weird.
Apparently the methane will, even after you close a landfill, it will still produce methane for about 10 to 15 years.
Jesus.
Yeah.
We got to get off this rock. We destroyed it.
Yeah.
We got to move on.
The other thing they would do is, for example, up until 1872 in New York City, they would just take all of its garbage off a pier in the East River and just dump it in there into the East River. And then, people started to complain, obviously, because all that garbage gets washed out. So then they would put it on barges, take it out into the ocean and drop it off, and then it would all wash up on New Jersey. New Jersey started complaining.
Well, now that makes sense. Now we're making sense. No. New York's done a good job with the rivers. The East River and the Hudson are both, so even over the past few decades, it's really changed.
Are there fish? I'm assuming there's fish in those rivers now.
Yeah. There are people who fish. Now, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm glad there are fish there, but I'm not eating a fish out of the Hudson. Not me.
Which was the one that you rode across one night?
The Hudson River. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I rode from New Jersey to Manhattan Island, which I don't recommend. It's very dangerous. No lights, no motor.
Did you row back or did you just leave the boat?
We rode back. We rode back because we were stupid and drunk. And it's amazing that we survived that because there was, they're huge, enormous, massive boats that are going up and down that river, and they don't see two drunk people in a little rowboat.
Just paddling along.
Also, you can't just row up to Manhattan.
Yeah.
Manhattan's got huge rocks, and Manhattan isn't really built for paddle boats to come up and tie off.
Somebody, one of those boats that looks like a swan. It's just paddled right up to Manhattan. They don't
rent those out there.
Yeah. So in 1131 in Paris, actually, speaking of the pigs, the King Philip of France at the time, he was a co-ruler. He actually died when his horse tripped over a pig that was out eating garbage in the streets of Paris. So Paris actually did away with the piggery or using pigs pretty early.
Because of that? Because of him? That was like a turning point?
Yeah, they passed a law saying that you couldn't let pigs run loose in the streets of Paris in 1131 because he died. Now, what happened, if you think this is ancient history, Los Angeles used pigs as well up until 1914.
You're kidding.
Pigs just walking around eating garbage. And then when the city eventually moved them in 1914, they moved it out to where they had large piggeries outside of Los Angeles.
Piggeries.
Yeah, where you would have, garbage men and restaurants and stuff would take their garbage out to the pigs. In other words, you don't have them loose, but you would take them out to a piggery and then feed that slop to the pigs outside the cities.
And then the pigs would just live there, and nobody would, you wouldn't have to keep them alive, do anything to keep them alive. They were just like feral pigs penned up eating everybody's garbage.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a pig farm basically. But
they
were being
the
fed
pigs and then eat the pigs.
They would slaughter the pigs and eat them. But the one problem that kind of led to the demise of the piggeries outside of town was that people didn't like the quality of the meat of the trash-fed pigs.
Yeah. That's because they're eating all kinds of. Oh,
right.
God. Yeah. But you know what about pigs? They're so damn cute. You ever been around a pig?
Oh yeah.
They're so
smells awful. Smells awful.
Yes,
when you get like a bunch of pigs together. But
we had a scene in a show in Quick Draw that I was shooting. We needed a big pig, a mama pig. Yeah. It was like this 300-pound pig that came in, was trained just to lay down and sit there for the scene.
Yeah,
and that pig was so sweet, so adorable. We all fell in love with the pig.
Yeah. Very smart. They say they're as smart as, I don't know if they're as smart as dogs, but they say that they're very smart.
That pig didn't demonstrate its intelligence in any way that I saw. But God damn, it was cute.
Maybe that was the intelligence. Like, I don't need to say anything with this crowd.
Yeah. Well, look, he did what he had to do. He laid down and stayed there.
Nailed the scene.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Did you have a scene with him? Did you for her?
I was. She was giving birth, and so we had a bunch of little pigs, those tiny pigs that are no, the potbelly pigs. You know, the little ones so they were full grown, but they were little, and then we used those to play the baby pigs, and I was giving birth, so we just coated a baby pig. I mean, a potbelly pig in slime.
Yeah.
And then I would just pull the baby pig into frame as if the
was coming out of the. Yeah.
And the whole point of the whole scene was the slime.
Oh, really?
Because I thought that would be just hilarious. And it was. That slime delivered.
Nice. You killed it.
Thank you. Yep.
The other way that people in the 1870s, they started incinerating their garbage in large incinerators. So it started in London and then moved over here for incinerators. Another thing about in Los Angeles, for a long time, people had burn barrels or incinerators in their backyards.
Yeah.
And apparently you can still see some of them back there.
Well, you go out into rural areas and people burn all the time.
Yeah. And what's interesting in LA is that even back in the 1890s and early 1900s, people were already complaining about their eyes burning and having trouble breathing and about the smog. Yeah. In July 26, 1943 was called Black Monday in Los Angeles, where like the smog was so bad that you could only see 3 blocks and people were having trouble breathing.
Jesus.
But this was all before the auto craze. So it was all from people burning their garbage out there.
And firewood and all of that. Yeah. God.
So,
LA's gotten a lot better, I'll tell you. It's gotten, even since I've been here, it's noticeably different. The valley, you don't see that smog haze like you used to.
Yeah.
I guess in the 70s, it was just horrid.
How's the trash? Like, how was like Hollywood Boulevard or...
Oh God, Hollywood Boulevard is, you could trip over a dead body out there.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I don't want people to die, but the fact that Hollywood Boulevard is really skanky is one of my favorite things about LA, is because people pay good money to come out here as tourists to see, the Walk of Fame. And the Walk of Fame is just, covered in vomit and urine and trash and
rustic.
Broken dreams, which is exactly what Hollywood is. You should see that. That is what it is,
Yeah. Right next to the stars on the sidewalk.
Exactly.
You have
those stars are built on garbage.
In the 1890s, trash was really bad in New York. And just not only trash, but they said that there were 120,000 horses that would work in New York at that time.
Jesus.
And the lifespan for a city working horse was only 2 years, which I thought was crazy. But all of the just being worked so hard and just the conditions, 2 years was like the average lifespan for a city horse.
Jesus.
Yeah. So there were a lot of horse carcasses that you would be left out in the streets. Also, those 120,000 horses produced 1,200 pounds of manure every day.
Every day?
Yeah. And 60,000 gallons of urine being dropped out on the road.
You ever seen a horse pee? They just, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's disturbing to see a horse pee. It just keeps going and going. Yeah. It's just like, my God.
Yeah. And under the pressure of it, I mean,
I know.
Like the intention. There is like intention there.
Yes.
Like, I am peeing now.
Yes.
Yeah. In the 1890s, there was the City Beautiful movement, which was a reformist movement that was trying to clean up the cities. Mm-hmm. And that's when people would come up with more fountains, more statues, some green areas in the cities.
They did a good job. It's a beautiful city.
Remember in Kansas City, too. Remember when they talk about all the fountains and the statues?
Yes. Supposedly Kansas City has more fountains than anywhere else in the world except Rome. But nobody's checked that.
Yeah, I think that's something you toss out and you expect no one's going to go around and actually count them.
Somebody said it, and then everybody's like, wow, okay.
Yeah. And then you repeat it, that's
That's
same
like
with
the urban myths, before the internet. There were things like urban myths where you hear stories. It was always a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
Like the famous one is that my friend went on vacation, and they had one of their cameras, and they left the camera in the room, and they came back and they developed the film, and there were all these pictures that somebody had taken. Yeah. And one of them was all of our toothbrushes up their ass. That was an urban myth. I'd heard that. I've heard that a few times.
Many different tellings.
So it was a friend of mine, friend of a friend.
Yeah.
The internet ruined that. Now the internet is,
You can check that out.
Now we call those facts. Urban myths are now facts.
Yeah.
Because it's on a website.
So in the 1895 in New York, they hired a guy named Colonel George Waring as commissioner of street sanitation. He was a Civil War general. He was a cavalry general. Uh-huh. And Waring, apparently the job had been offered to Theodore Roosevelt first. And Theodore Roosevelt was like, no, I'll take it. Thanks. I'll become the commissioner of police. He became
Teddy's not doing that. He's going to go out with his Red Rangers or whatever
Right. Rough Riders. The Rough Riders. So he's going down with the Rough Riders.
Yeah. Get a bunch of.
Yeah.
Rough Riders is interesting. We should talk about that sometime.
Yeah, we should, because they had their reunion up in Las Vegas, New Mexico. The original Las Vegas. Yeah.
Jesus.
And you can stay in that hotel. We go up to that hotel a lot and stay where the Rough Riders had their reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Waring, he tried to run the sanitation department like the military. So he put all of the street cleaners wore white uniforms and cork helmets. They had helmets on.
White helmets.
Yeah. Just to make it look more I don't know, martial, more militaristic of hey, we're going to have a esprit de corps or something like that.
I see. Gotcha.
And they were called the White Wings, and they would go out and they would sweep up the cities, and they'd also have parades with bands of all the sanitation workers.
That's awesome. Yeah. He made it something to be prideful. He's smart.
Right. And the other thing he did was they say that some of the, he wasn't into using machinery to clean up the streets. He wanted people actually out there sweeping it up. And so there were stories about some of the white wings like would go rough up a litter bug. If you were a habitual litter bug, the white these guys in white uniforms and corks would like pay you a visit and be like,
hey, oh shit. Oh my God, that's funny. I kind of like that. I hate litter bugs. But I also hate violence, so I'm not sure about that. But I like the idea of litter bugs getting somebody calling them out on it. When I see somebody litter, I'm afraid. I don't say anything because if they're crazy enough to litter, they're crazy enough to do anything.
Yeah, they don't care.
I don't want to. But I want to say something. I want to say, Jesus, come on.
You're the one that always talks about like just that little line in the middle of the road that keeps us from driving over. It's just like
you've got an orange line really out there. Yeah. It keeps us all in line. Nobody crosses that line.
Ooh, I wish you hadn't brought that up.
And everybody's crazy. Any of them could.
Yeah.
You see them when you're on the highway, you think everybody thinks the way you think. But then you pull over to the gas station and you see them talking and moving around. You're like, oh my God. These are the people I'm trusting my life to?
Yeah, there's nothing. It's just an agreement. There's an agreement we all have not to cross that line.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I know.
That's scary.
I know.
Have you ever heard about the freegan movement?
No.
Where people, it's because of all the waste coming out of grocery stores. They will go and dig into trash of grocery stores and like the dumpsters and pull out food that's still good. It's still edible, but there was so much waste.
Right. And what do they do with it? They eat it or they
eat it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They can eat it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Why not?
I had, when I worked for VH1, one of our producers, I think was a freegan because you would see him, you would go to the cafeteria and he would be waiting by the trash can, when people come and like dump off their trays and everything. And he would be like, are you done with that? Are you going to, and he would eat the trash. He would eat the like leftover food
because it was an environment. Well, I mean, look, that we've got to figure it out. We can't be throwing away stuff. We can only throw away stuff that we can't use. We've got to use it all until Bezos shoots it all into the sun.
Then it's all, you can do whatever you want.
You do whatever you throw it right out the window. You got a diaper, throw it right out of the window. We'll give it to Bezos.
I always wondered about that guy, like what he did when he went, like your agent or your executives would want to go out to lunch, and you'd be at the restaurant and be like, are you going to order anything? Well, let me just wait till you get done.
You know what? I'm a freegan because I have kids. I never order any food or buy. I only eat what they don't eat. That's all I do.
Really?
Yeah, because they're constantly leaving food, and that's kind of a dad job. And I just, I honestly, I rarely make myself anything.
Really?
There's always going to be leftovers in the fridge or, my daughter will be done. I'll be, wait. Don't throw, that's like that's good. Don't throw that away. I'll eat it. It just happened today. She made some toast and was on her way into the kitchen and there was still a half a piece of toast on her plate. And she looked at me because you want this? I'm like, hell yeah, I do. Give me that.
You are a freegan.
I'm a freegan.
That's a freegan. I think it's, from this research, I've started trying to only buy what I need and eat everything that's in there. And the last few weeks, it's been a little, some of that stuff has been a little sketchy.
It's hard. It's hard to do. Yeah.
But it makes you
think
about
read those expiration notices. Don't even look at them. You don't need to. No.
I say you take a Sharpie to those right when you buy your food.
Yeah, just redact that stuff. Just redact it.
Finally, just before we close, I want to talk about the garbage project at the University of Arizona.
Okay.
And we mentioned William Rathje earlier, who's an archaeologist. But back in the early 70s, what Rathje realized was that whereas we look at, as an archaeologist, you look at all of the old garbage to understand what people were like. He thought, why can't we look at our current garbage to figure out what we're currently doing?
Smart.
Yeah.
Really smart.
And so he started excavating landfills, like modern landfills. And he also started like going in and like analyzing people's garbage, You know, he would ask them for permission, but would go out and look at their
being
garbage.
like an intern for him, you know.
Yeah,
I got a new work study job. Oh yeah, who's it for? The garbage guy. Oh Jesus.
Yeah. No, they talk about. I mean, they sift it just like they do any other archeological dig. And
God, just take it with paintbrushes, just brushing off the slime.
Right. Or they would just like dig down. They did get like a big drill and go down like 30, 40 feet into a landfill.
Get down in there, Ethan. No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Strap him in. Drop him down in there. Get a core sample.
Which is, I also read there was some archaeologist in Rome back in the 1890s that was excavating an old Roman garbage dump. And he said as soon as they uncovered that thing, it still smelled bad.
Wow.
It still smelled bad. Like 2,000 years later, it was still ripe in there. You know.
Wow.
But what Rathje found was that people were much more, the information you could get from looking at people's garbage was much more honest than the information you would get from people if you gave them a written survey.
Oh, hell yes. I mean, that's not surprising to me at all.
Yeah.
Nobody tells the truth when it comes to even to themselves.
Yeah.
Like I don't even talk to myself about what I'm really doing. Yeah. I don't want to know.
That explains a lot, actually. I'm going to have to, that really that helped me. And some of the things he found were, for example, he found what he calls the good provider syndrome. And that was people, like if you gave them a written survey, they would always talk about how much food they provided for their family and how well their family was eating. And he goes, it didn't line up with what you were finding in the trash.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. That's like me eating a piece of toast.
Right.
You know, there's other stuff I do, but I'm not telling you.
But even if it was anonymous, like a survey for a sociologist or something.
Because then you have to admit it to yourself. You're shifting it from, the back of your brain to the front of your brain, and then you got to take another look at it.
Right.
Which
to me is fascinating that we can't even to ourselves, even if we know it's anonymous, we still have to lie about what it is.
Yep. We can't deal with it.
The other thing he called was the lean cuisine. This was written back in the 80s and 90s, the lean cuisine syndrome. And that was people would always underreport how much junk food their families were eating.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So
you don't want to be judged. You don't want to. Yeah.
The other thing he found was the surrogate syndrome, which people were very informed and knowledgeable and ready to, offer up reports about their neighbors or other people in the house. So he said,
but not honest about themselves.
Right. But they knew exactly how much trash their neighbor was producing.
You know what? I believe in this project. That he's getting down to some real nitty gritty here.
Right. It's fascinating.
We're built on technology. We're the species that think technology is our salvation. And yet, for technology to work, you have to have good data. And we're unable to get good data, to deliver honest data. We cannot do it.
We don't want to be honest with ourselves about it.
No.
The other thing he did come up, which I thought was interesting, was the first principle of food waste. And that he found that the more repetitive your diet, meaning if you're eating the same thing every day, the less food you waste.
That's true. That my son only eats 3 things. Well, not anymore. But when he was younger, he did. Hot dogs. He liked quiche for some reason. And pizza.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Quiche. How does quiche get in there?
I don't know how that happened, but somehow my wife got him to eat a piece of Trader Joe's frozen quiche, these little quiches.
Yeah.
And he loved it. And for a long time, man, that was a go-to because, that quiche had at least we convinced ourselves it had some vegetables in it or something in there.
A lot of butter. A lot of butter.
Yeah. And protein, because if they don't have protein, they just melt away.
Right. But you wouldn't have to. They were already prepared. It wasn't like, you want Daddy to go make you a quiche?
Yeah, right.
To be in there, like
no, yeah. That's cooking in our house is defrosting something in the microwave. That's the best. Or order it on, Instacart.
How about you? I mean, you know how to cook, don't you?
I do, but Mike, I was a cook in the 80s, so all of my recipes that I know are really heavy, a lot of cream. Yeah. I'm good on a barbecue. I can barbecue like a bat out of hell. You give me a barbecue guy, I can cook you up something. Yeah, and a slow cooker. I'm good with this, but everybody is. You put a turd in a slow cooker, and it's going to taste good. Everybody try this at home. Take a turd, put it in your slow cooker, and pour a can of tomato juice over it, sauce over it. Cook it for 10 hours. I'm telling you.
You won't even know.
You won't even know. Cut with a fork.
Just like that. That's what we need to do with our garbage problem.
Yes.
Just giant slow cookers. Just put this. They didn't take the piggery far enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just a couple more things he found. Then they started looking at culturally between two different countries, for example. They were comparing the garbage in America compared to the garbage in Mexico City, for example.
Okay.
And they were able to see, like in Mexico City, affluent people, rich people smoked more cigarettes than poor people, which is the opposite of what, I mean, this was back in the 70s, but it's the opposite of what we have in America.
Yeah.
And the other thing they found was that in Mexico City, affluent people use twice as much toilet paper as poor people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, that makes sense because you're going to, we need to institute, the bidet. Don't you think?
Yeah.
It's time. Yeah. We got to do it because I was against a bidet just because, I was just like, I don't want water shooting up my ass. Right. But then what happened to me happens to everybody. It's like when you buy a cat. People who hate cats are people who have never owned cats.
Yeah. Yeah.
People who hate bidets are people who have never tried it because once you try it, there's no going back. God, a good bidet, especially those Japanese models, where they come in, the wand that comes in and shoots you, and then they even have the dryer. Those are amazing. It's a whole new world. I love it.
Do you have a bidet in your house? Did you guys have one?
No, I had one, but I need to get another one set up. No, now I just use tons of toilet paper. But we should.
The one I have trouble with is like if you're in Southeast Asia or someplace and you go to use the bathroom and it's the Turkish toilet. It's just like a hole with like a couple of bricks there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just. I don't.
I'll wait till I get back to.
Yeah,
I'll just hold it. I'll just hold it for
just
a
eat
month.
more cheese. Just eat a lot of cheese. Cheese. What are you having for dinner? Cheese.
Well, John, I think that brings us to our close here. Any final thoughts about garbage?
I'm fascinated by it. I totally agree that poo and garbage is the most honest side of us.
Yeah.
It's where the rubber meets the road. Waste is who we are in the end.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by it. I think this is really good. I think we need more study of our poo. An interesting thing about during the pandemic is that they were able to sort of see and analyze, how high the rates of the pandemic were in neighborhoods by testing wastewater.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, we've got it. I mean, thank God Bezos is going to shoot all of our garbage up into space.
Don't send us up. Just send the garbage.
He's a fancy billionaire when really he's going to be our trash man. I just love that. Bezos, we want you to wear a cork helmet with a white suit. You drive your spaceship full of our shit.
Put the seatbelt on your space shuttle and get ready
take
to go.
All your billionaires up there and then turn the ship around and release our poo right into the sun. Come on back.
Hey, I just want to say too, there's a really good film called Wasteland by Lucy Walker, who it's all about this artist. What was his name? I can't remember his name. Does it say here? Vic Muniz. And he's a found object artist, but he went to Brazil back in the early 2000s, and he worked with people who go through the garbage at the big garbage dump down there. And it really gives you, it's called Wasteland. It gives you a view of people, like how much waste and how it's a commodity, how waste is a commodity.
Yeah.
And then he did artworks with it. That fascinating film, just to see some visuals on it. So.
All right. And we'll have to put the link of that in our notes as well.
Yeah. So I think we're done here, John, but I just want to thank everyone for joining us. And remember, if you have a topic or question that you think that humanity needs to know about, please send it along to us, and we'll try to get to it eventually.
Yeah.
And
wow, it's amazing what one text from me to you turns into. You're amazing. You're just amazing.
I'm just glad that it was actually intended for me, because actually, after I got into it after a few weeks, I was like, I wonder if he was talking about like sending this home to say like, hey, remember to take out the trash. And I've just spent like 4 weeks really researching garbage, getting down into garbage.
Well, it's a win-win. Win-win. It reminds me to take out my trash, and it gives us a podcast. We're using our waste properly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, John.
Well, this is human number 2 signing off.
And this is human number 1. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. John, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, Matt. Talk to you later.